Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Music Lab podcast. My name is Dogg, and I'm so excited to be back with all of you for another episode of the podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us. That helps the artists and bands and people in the industry, like Mr. Carter over here. Also, check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR, outfitters.com. Don't just wear RAR. So, ladies and gentlemen, today, Mr. Cash Carter, we met at Americanafest last month. You said to me, let's do this. And I said, yeah, let's do this. So here we are. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
Doing all right. Just want to say, it's funny, I say I just moved into a new place. Because of my job, I'm gone almost every week. It's been a couple of months at this point, but I haven't had time to decorate. So I apologize for the prison-like room that I'm in right now. It's my office it's like the last thing that I've had time to put things up on the wall. So I apologize for how grim it looks in here right now. I don't have a Radiohead clock, so
Right. As a fellow glass wearer, your face is good enough, my friend. So let's start off by talking about your current position and what you're doing right now. Talk about the company, talk about the position, and what
Sure.
really gets you going these days.
So I work for Conectiv. It's CON, 1N, ECTIV, no E at the end. It used to be called Vantiva, but before that was called Technicolor, which is the Technicolor everyone's familiar with. It's been around for over 100 years. So we are that same company. We've just been spun off a couple of times. I am vice president in charge of business development over there. Over here, whatever you want to say. I work from home. Our headquarters is in Memphis, Tennessee, but we do a bunch of different things. The thing that I am most involved with is the vinyl production, and that currently is in Guadalajara, Mexico. And I'm in Guadalajara quite a bit. I'm going to be there next week as well. I'm usually there at least once a month, sometimes more.
And what is that plant like in Guadalajara? How is that different than other plants that you've, worked with in the past?
So I've been the owner of two different plants, and I've worked for many. I was a consultant for a couple of years, and I've worked with quite a few plants, many of them all over the world. I will say, with no disrespect to any other plant I've been in or owned, I've never seen a plant quite like the one in Guadalajara. I remember my workmate Charles, who was the one who recruited me, was like, "Yeah, you're gonna be your jaw's gonna drop when you see this plant." And I was like, "Yeah. It's hard to impress me when it comes to pressing plants. I've been to most of them, whatever." Like, and then I got there, and it truly is possibly the best. I would say it's the best plant I've ever been in. The cleanest. Most innovative. The people working there are hardworking and love their job. I will say for my company, one of the things that we hold very close to our hearts and are very good at is treating our employees well, paying them well, giving them a lot of respect. That's something that's very important for me. I moved up. I was an owner of smaller plants and worked at smaller plants, and this is definitely one of the largest in the world. And we are the largest manufacturer of optical disc, which is CD, DVD, Blu-ray, UHD, all that stuff. So moving up into the big leagues was scary for me. It's not necessarily my thing, or I didn't think it would be. But with a few quirks here and there, it doesn't feel like we don't treat our employees the way that you would think a corporation would. Well, we don't treat our clients that way. And that's one of the reasons they brought me on. Is that's what I've done my whole career. Is I've been in the music industry since I was 15 years old. From being in bands and still in bands, to owning a record store, working at record stores, working at record labels, all that stuff, all the way up through here. And so they brought me on because of my relationship with the small labels, with the independent artists, things like that. It's kind of my role at Conectiv is, I don't want to say running the vinyl program, but certainly kind of spearheading the, indie label, independent artist side of the business.
So getting back to the plant itself in Guadalajara, production wise, number of employees, like give us some numbers if you don't mind.
Our capacity is 40 million units a year. Yeah. Yeah. I'm under NDA.
Wait,
So
just say that again. Just say that number.
40 million.
Again. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm under NDA, so I can't necessarily say all the artists that we work for. We work for all the big ones. Like everyone you can think of that's a big artist, we work for. I think there was a recent record that came out. It's one of the biggest, will probably be the biggest of the year. I will not say her name just in case I'm not allowed to, but we pressed that.
Wow. So
yeah, it's massive. It's crazy. When the plants I've been at before, our capacity for the year, Conectiv does, in a week, a month, something like that. I mean, depending on how honest we were with our capacity at the old plants. Right. Honestly, probably a week. Whatever we could do in a year. The last one at the main plant that I own, we could probably do that in a week. At Conectiv, which is crazy. And being able to keep the quality that we keep is, I didn't think that we would be able to do that, but seeing our quality control, which is well beyond any that I've ever seen before, is insane. Like I thought that my first plant that I owned kind of was going to be one of the highest qualities that I've seen because of how rigorous we were with our quality control and how iron fisted I was about that. I didn't think that a plant the size of Conectiv would be able to match it, much less surpass it. And it does. It's wild.
So a plant, well, let me ask you this first. So since you brought up that said album, how long in advance did you receive it till when it was a final product? Especially for that amount of units.
I think it took us a couple months, maybe a month or two to finish.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to be vague about who I talk about, what I can talk about.
Yeah, of course.
I am under NDAs. I'm not really sure what information those entities want out there, and their inner workings, but something like that, a month or two.
Wow. Now, has technology allowed, so like if something like that would have happened in 1995, would it still only taken a month or two, or is technology?
Oh yeah. I mean, because of the plants that were open in 95, there were still massive plants open in 95. I mean, I believe the one down here in Georgia, the Carrollton plant, the Sony plant was still open. Okay. So there were large plants all over the country. They may not have been busy, but they were still open, I believe. I mean, someone is going to have to, I'm pretty sure the Carrollton plant didn't close until the early 2000s. And I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida. I think we had a plant there until the mid 90s. So yeah, it would have been easier then for that amount of records to get made for sure. But if you want to transpose that to 2005, no, that couldn't have happened.
Right. Okay.
I mean, it would have taken the entire industry shutting down and everybody pressing it,
Yeah, I mean, that just goes to show you the level of like despair at that time of history, right?
I mean, that was the whole reason why I had the idea of opening my own plant whenever I had a record store in Jacksonville, Florida. And I think we opened it in 2005, 2006. I don't remember the exact day. You could look at the day Harvest Records in Asheville was open because he was one of the owners was in a band with me, and we opened on the exact same day. We ordered at the exact same time. So whatever day they opened, we opened. My record store opened, and I realized I could see records coming back. I knew that they were coming back already because I'm a massive record collector. Like if I pull my computer and walk down the hall, I call it my hall of records. My entire hall is just all records. Um, I could see it then and was like, I think I want to open a pressing plant. It took until 2017 to open my own, but I had been thinking about it since that point and planning and plotting and trying to find presses and things like that. And that was the thing during those times is it wasn't just about not having enough capacity in the industry, trying to find presses. You couldn't just find them online. You had to know someone who knew someone, and you had to meet someone who knew two or three people in the world who knew where presses were. And that was crazy. I met Dietrich Schoenemann, and I met him through my friend Mike Dixon. He's one of my best friends in the whole world. Also, someone that would be great to have on the podcast. He does lathe cut records. Pretty much any not mastering lathes, like a Presto lathe, like a home lathe in the world, there's pretty much a 95% chance it went through Mike Dixon. His things he does is very interesting. He owns a label called Piaptic, People in Position to Know, mobile vinyl recorders, which I traveled around the world doing that with him. But I met Mike Dixon at a festival in Jacksonville, and then he introduced me to Dietrich Schoenemann. That was like 2010, maybe 2009. And that was really the start of my path into the vinyl industry. And yeah, I mean, that's that. In those days, I think there were 10 plants in the world, maybe 20, if that many. So yeah, I mean, there was a time when very few people out there knew how to do this, knew how to get the machines. It was a dying technology where the people who knew how to do it were dying themselves. I mean, when I first got into this, it was like we were the young guys by far. We were the young guys going to these conferences where it was all much older dudes, and we were not spring chickens. I was in my late 30s, but we were definitely the young guys wearing jean jackets and band t-shirts. That was kind of, we walked into the room and everyone just kind of looks at us, who the fuck are these outlaws? Now it's commonplace, when you go to these conferences, it's a bunch of rockers, but at the time it was not.
That's crazy. So at what point then in your career then are we talking that you're traveling like more than half of the year than staying home?
Just Conectiv, working for Conectiv. Well, that's not true. That's not true. So, I don't know how much you want to get into the story of my old plant. It's a hell of a story, which I've actually written a TV show about, which I wasn't sure was going to get picked up, but it may get picked up now. I mean, there's a very real possibility. There's talks with a major studio that it may actually happen.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. The story is insane. And basically it got stolen from me by the people currently running it. It's a crazy story getting there. But after that, I started consulting and helping pressing plants, get open or help them train staff, understand the supply chain, introduce them to people in the supply chain, all those things. Because my old plant, I basically ran it. I mean, there was me, our head of QC, and our head of pressing basically ran it. My business partner was kind of checked out. He wasn't there very often. Towards the end, in the beginning, he was there a lot. I mean, I would never have gotten it open without him, but towards the end, he was pretty checked out. Mm-hmm. And, which is how the business manager that came in was able to do what he did. But because I was running it, me and two other people basically entirely, I couldn't leave. Like I didn't have vacations. Like I went to one conference a year, which is the Making Vinyl conference. But once I started, but because of the reputation that we developed very quickly, and we became known as one of the highest quality in the industry, definitely the best customer service. Also, I think we were the first to start like filming stuff being pressed and putting it online. I can't say we were definitely the first, but I think that I've checked around, pretty sure we were. we were also the first to have like bands and artists come in and like pour their own PVC, and be there for the pressing. We had like Lou Barlow come in and play the inside the warehouse and Driving and Crying and things like that. I think we were the first to do that. So because of that, I developed a reputation because of the reputation of my plant, which unfortunately, again, I hate to keep bringing it up, is how the people who are running it now are able to even get work as our old reputation. But that reputation also allowed me to consult and travel all over the world doing that. And I had a consulting partner named Kevin DaCosta. He is on the board of a company called Evolution Music, which they're creating Evo Vinyl, which is going to be the first not only plant-based PVC replacement, but there are no harmful chemicals in it. So he and I traveled around and got places open. And so I started traveling a lot during that time. I also ended up working for Merge Records, which is my favorite record label of all time. And I worked for a company called Imprint Indie Printing, which does the record jackets, all the printing for CDs and vinyl and things like that. So I was traveling for that as well. But when the travel button, started getting tapped like all the time was when I worked for Conectiv. I'm typically only in Athens on the weekends. You caught me at a good week where I'm actually home most of the week, but generally speaking, I'm gone. I'm out. I'm at conferences. I'm meeting with clients. Next week I go to Guadalajara again. I'm there a lot. And then the first week of December, I'll be in London I'm part of this thing called Vinyl Alliance, which is a industry group that has a lot of the industry leaders in it. And we meet twice a year. We're meeting in London, which is pretty nice. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't until I traveled a lot. And I mentioned Mike Dixon with Mobile Vinyl Recorders. During that time, I was working for that too. So I would travel around and do events with him, which is basically cutting records live in front of people onto lathes. So I would travel around a lot for that as well.
Yeah, I hate to say this, but I have never been to Europe. I've been to the Caribbean, I've been to Mexico, like we'll be in Mexico in 8 days.
Where are
But
you going?
Baja, Cabo
Oh,
and
cool.
Ensenada. We're gonna have like 28 hours in Los Angeles, so we're gonna meet up with a couple bands that I've interviewed. So, but anyway, yeah, I know that once I step foot in Europe, I won't come back, and that's why I'm just holding
Yeah.
off until like
I
I can
just
do
went to
that.
Making Vinyl. I spoke at Making Vinyl Europe, and it was in Haarlem, Netherlands. I I wish I could find an excuse to move there. I mean, it is. I've been to a lot of cities. I think it's my favorite city in the world now. It's amazing. Like I cannot. It's basically a suburb of Amsterdam. I think it's 10, 20 minutes away from Amsterdam. But I cannot recommend going to that city or the Netherlands enough. I if I am able to retire, it will almost certainly be there unless I find a place I like more. But I mean, dude, Haarlem, Netherlands, anybody out there listening, if you get a chance, go. Music scene was incredible. I saw there was this old band from Athens that was a collateral damage from the fall apart of my old pressing plant, Deep State. They were one of the best bands in Athens. One of the best bands to come out of Athens, I think, for the past 20 years. But it was funny. I walked into this punk bar in Harlem, and there was this band playing. I was like, "Oh my god, this is the Netherlands. This is the Dutch Deep State. They sound exactly freaking like them." But it was amazing. I saw Pussy Riot in Harlem. Got to see them, which I never thought I was going to get to see. The food is incredible. The people are incredible. Yeah, I mean, if you do go to Europe and you go to the right city, I suspect you will not want to come back.
What's the population of Harlem?
I have no idea.
I mean, like
It's not big.
comparable to
And
like a U.S. city. Like,
I would say probably like Athens, except
okay.
for much older. The architecture is much better. The people are much nicer. I actually feel welcome there, unlike Athens. So, yeah, I mean, it's probably a lot bigger than Athens, but it feels like if Amsterdam were the Atlanta Harlem would be the Athens.
Sure. It's funny because you speak about Athens, and I've interviewed some bands from Athens, and a lot of them like love the scene in Athens, but like we kind of talked about before, like there's a little bit of gatekeeping going on, and a lot of them tend to go to Atlanta because that's, like that's where you have more opportunity.
Absolutely.
Can you kind of speak on that, knowing the scene?
Sure. I think a lot of those bands were actually some of my employees. So, yeah, I mean, it Athens can be great. It can be. When I moved here, I absolutely adored it and loved it. The problem is it's so small that there's a few people who can be seen as controlling the industry, controlling the scene here, and it's extremely based off of social currency. If your social currency is high, Athens is great. If your social currency is low, Athens is awful. I am in that second category lately because, as I have mentioned a few times, I got my company stolen from me by people who have high social currency, and because of that, those people, when you're in this small of a town, there you can be. The term isn't exactly canceled, but like soft canceled by the people in power for absolutely nothing. I mean, getting soft canceled for losing my company is insane, especially being canceled by people who have done things far, far, far worse, and if you have so high social currency, you can be forgiven for doing terrible things. If you have low social currency, you won't be forgiven for doing nothing. And you have to live with that here in Athens. And it's one of the reasons why I am trying to leave. Now, mind you, there are beautiful people here, and the physical city in and of itself is gorgeous. One of my favorite places in the world is Clayton, Blue Ridge. It's one of those beautiful places I've ever been, North Georgia. I wish that the city, the scene here was more kind and forgiving. And again, there will be people who hear this and be like, "What are you talking about? It's great." Yeah, you haven't been on the shit end of that stick yet.
Yeah.
I think this happens a lot. And not to get into this isn't really politics, but not to get too much into politics. The crazy thing that happens here is you have a lot of people who are rah 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 labor rights, pro labor, social justice issues until it actually affects them, and they have to sacrifice a little bit to stand up for people. Like there's a large brewery here that was a union busting that was trying to start a union. It was union busted, and I was spending one of the plants that I owned right before I joined Conectiv was in Minneapolis, spending a lot of time there. That would never happen in Minneapolis. That no one will go to that brewery. Everyone loves the brewery here because, again, they have high social currency. What happened to me at my plant by people who use super Trumpian tactics to steal my company, that it happened in Minneapolis, no one would be using that plant. And I see major artists going and pressing their records there without question. And I know it sounds like I'm sounding bitter about this, and
Not at all.
I swear I'm not. I'm actually in a much better place than I was before. It's just astounding seeing this small town that's supposed to be so progressive bend to these people who are the kind of people that I see the rest of the people, like the employees of my old company or the employees of that brewery, bending to, and then going out and protesting at the No Kings March against people who use the same tactics. It's mind blowing. Or one of the wealthiest people in Georgia was one of my investors. It's like, you hear people talk about rich old white dudes all the time and being against them, being against the 1%, but yet this guy who owns one of the biggest labels in town, one of the biggest labels at Americanafest that we were talking about, and was an investor for me, does terrible things to people. Now, his employees are great and his label is fine, but does terrible, terrible things to people. And everyone in this town worships him. That's the thing about Athens is it's like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Again, if you have the high social currency, if you kiss the ring, you're good. If you then turn around and say, hey, wait a second, this person fucked me over and we should analyze this, and it's not just me, it's several people, then you get shunned. They wouldn't call it canceling, but it's canceling. I mean, I lost two of my bands over it. I lost all of my friends simply because I'm like, hey, look, these people are doing shitty things. We should be concerned about these people doing shitty things. And everyone's like, oh, well, I'm on his label. I can't say anything. I can't do anything. And it's like, dude, we're all fucking punks. Just because you're on their label doesn't mean you can't speak up and say, hey, this person who owns my label is doing shitty things. But no one does. No one will. And that's the hard thing in Athens and maybe small towns in general. I wish that it would be different. I think that Athens could be a beautiful place again for people like me if people would actually stand up and live up to the morals that they themselves espouse. I'm using that word wrong.
Espouse.
That they themselves. What's up?
Espouse, right?
Espouse. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Sorry, I didn't say it right, but yeah. I mean, if they lived up to their own morals, which is all I've ever asked people to do,
sure,
it could be great. But I mean, that's a problem in rock and roll and music in general. Like live up to what you say you believe in. That's a moral for you kids out there.
The great Lionel Richie said, "The music industry is run by gangsters." Like,
yeah,
it's absolutely true. Like there
and
are
mostly true here in Athens. I mean, the guy who runs the plant now is a grifter. He actually grifted my ex-business partner, and the most wealthy man in town is a freaking gangster. He's really, really nice. If you ever meet him, he's very nice.
Yeah.
But he has his lapdog, his lawyer, that will attack you, just like any gangster. Yeah, and that's how Athens is run. Yeah. And no one.
It was great. He said, like, it's one of the few industries where you can be successful and not be an academic. Like, it's strictly creative, and like, but he said with that comes a lot of problems.
Yeah, man. It's great. Like I said, I've been able to work some dream jobs, but having a unique perspective of I'm a musician. I've been a musician my whole life, and then being in the industry in different aspects, you see all sides of it. And I think that our industry would be a better place for artists and people in general if these artists actually stuck to their morals. They talk about the major labels and these terrible people who come in and take advantage of artists. Okay, you're right. But at the same time, stand up to your label who does that to people. And they don't. And I get it because it's their meal ticket. I totally get it. But if everybody stood up and was like, no, fuck you, I'm going to call you out whenever you do shitty things to other bands and other people, they couldn't get away with it anymore, but they don't. Nobody does.
It's the power of the people. And
power of the people. Absolutely.
Just think of two examples in the last 6 months, the whole Cracker Barrel, like, name change, like the sign change. Like, their people went nuts and it made them change, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another example too, where like, I'm trying to think of the other example where, people like made us think about something and like the company like made the change. Like, it's not hard.
Yeah, man. It's not. I mean, like I tried to unionize my company, and that's probably one of the reasons that they pulled some illegal moves, bought the company for themselves and fired me. If my people, my employees who called themselves socialists and communists and whatever, had actually stuck to their morals and stood up to the powers that be coming in and taking our company, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. Yeah. But no one would do it. Everyone was afraid, which I get. I don't blame them for that. Right. But I'm only saying my example to say that that's how it works. I mean, I work for a label that was good to their artists, that listened to their artists, but some labels who don't, if all their artists are like, fuck you, you treated our friends terribly, you need to rectify that, or we're no longer putting out music with you, what could the label do other than listen to the artists, including the majors? They'd have to as well.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to make a sacrifice. It may be small, it may be big. And in Athens, these bands, this label, it's not big enough to matter. They can make a small sacrifice and say, I'm not going to put music out on your label anymore. I'm going to go to another label. But they're too afraid that they think that they don't have the power, when in reality they do. If these people went to that label and were like, no, I'm not going to let you treat people like this.
Yeah.
And all of them did it. They have the power and they don't believe that they do. And, it's a matter of everybody getting together. It's true about music. It's true about everything. Yeah. If everybody at the bottom got together and banded together and put our differences aside, we could change this world. And same with the music industry. If all of us got together, we got screwed over by all these people, we could change it. But people, unfortunately, are not willing to make that sacrifice because they're like, I want to be able about my music. I don't want to rock the boat. I'm going to stay out of it. Not my problem. Well, it's all of our problems, man. We got to band together and do it. It's one of the reasons why I love working for my company, to bring it back around full circle, because they actually listen to employees and listen to me and listen to everybody. So yeah, it was a terrible thing that happened to me. It still affects me, obviously, but I'm in a much better position. And thankfully I don't have to deal with the people who are running the company now, because they're terrible, terrible human beings.
Yeah. So what drives me, or what makes me so sad, is when a band stops being a band because of financial reasons. And that seems to be the biggest thing. What do you say to that? And how are ways to kind of circumvent that as a band?
Again, I mean, I one of my ex-bandmates lives in Berlin now. We were in a band called the Cadets together, which actually just got signed to Bar None after 30 years of no one ever giving a shit about us. But he moved to Berlin and he gets a stipend, a government stipend. And I've been over there and visited him. And he owns a club in Berlin as well called Den Hau. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And you go there and you see kids who are 18 years old, 16 years old, people who are 80, and all the ages in between. Everyone goes to music, including experimental music, like what he puts on, like noise music, because it's considered culture. In the US, it's like considered a hobby or something shameful to do, or not worth our government investing in. And what makes America America? What people think about is rock and roll. People think about music. People think about the arts. Well, if you can't be an artist because you can't afford to be an artist, then our culture goes away. So I mean, what I'd say to a band that is struggling because of the monetary reasons, I feel I can't tell you to keep going, because if you especially if you have a family and you have to feed them, what are you going to do? But I would say the best thing to do is what we were talking about before: band together with your local musicians, demand a better life. Yeah. Demand that when you go and you play your local venue, that you're not going to do it for free. Even if it's $20-$30, mm-hmm. Demand it and say, we're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to play your club. We're going to boycott your club. We have the power as individuals to change the system. We just have to, a few of us have to stand up and be willing to take the hit. And it'll be, maybe a big hit, maybe a small hit, but that's, I don't know what to tell a small band that isn't making money. Because I've been there, I've been tour. I've been where we lost money on tour, where we would be playing a club in Portland for the bartender and the door guy. And I can't recommend that life for anybody. But I also know that it's for some people, it's in your blood. It's always going to be there. So if that's the case, then you have to fight for it, and you have to find a way to band with your like-minded people, whether it be musicians or other artists, and demand that we be given the respect that we deserve. I mean, it's bizarre that every other country in the world respects arts and music, and the US doesn't. Like, it's shameful. Like, you hear it all the time. Parents are like, "Oh no, my kid became a musician." It's like a joke, it's a meme, but it's true. It took a long time for my parents or my mom to accept that this was my chosen path, and I was able to stake my claim just by being willing to fail over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I don't know. You're going to fail.
Do you think
for sure?
Do you think that some of the I guess, yeah, maybe just this like laissez-faire kind of approach to concerts, at least, do you think some of that has to do though with like Live Nation and Ticketmaster and just
Oh,
people
absolutely.
being just sick of the industry?
Absolutely. I mean, one of our biggest clubs here, most legendary clubs, I believe the person who owns it, runs it, works for Live Nation. I believe that's the case. I may be speaking out of turn there, but I was on tour with one of my bands fairly recently, a couple of years ago, and we're heading to LA, and we're not a band that's going to sell a lot of tickets pre-sale. First of all, they're double the price pre-sale. But we knew that the LA show, we had a lot of friends there. We had an opening act that was fairly well liked. We only had, I think, 20 or 30 pre-sale tickets. And it was at a Live Nation venue, and they canceled the show day of. We were on our way there. We had driven half the way there. We had 20, 30 pre-sale tickets, which I think is pretty good at considering that they're double the price of day of the show at the door. We knew it was going to be a sellout or close to sellout show, but they canceled the show. And that wasn't the only show that got canceled by Live Nation on that tour. Absolutely. There are benefits to conglomerates like Live Nation doing these things where you have a package tour you can put together. It's easier on a booking agent. You don't necessarily have to have a booking agent. But also, I mean, I see it with young people, and I see the work ethic coming back, and you can circumnavigate these entities, and I think it's smart to do so because they don't care about you. They're not going to help you out when you need help. They're not going to give you a per diem when you need a per diem. You know what I mean? They're going to cut every corner that they can to, push profit. I mean, that's their business model.
Yeah, it's just
numbers.
Yeah,
that's what music. That's the sad part about the U.S. is you're either numbers or you're nothing. You know what I mean? Like, there's no in between. There's no work. There's no idea of a working class musician these days. It doesn't exist. No. You're either it's a hobby or you're, maybe not Kendrick Lamar or Tyler the Creator, but like you're either at the level of Modest Mouse or it's a hobby. Yeah. It's one or the other. There is no working class musician. It just doesn't exist anymore. And it's because of places like Live Nation. It's because of places like, some of these major entities that feed off of music and art and culture and take advantage of it.
Yeah, one of the things that I was not made aware of, because I'm not a musician but just a fan, just from doing the podcast now for the last 4 years, is venues taking percentage cuts of bands' merchandise.
Oh yeah.
When I found that out, I was like, holy shit. And I will not speak the venue but there is a venue in the Mid-Atlantic region that charges 40%. Most industry standard seems to be 20 to 25%.
Which is also crazy.
Crazy. It's the only way you can make money.
Well, the crazy thing is you see it all the time. I do it as a fan. $40 t-shirt. Are you kidding me? Well, that's because the venue's taking a huge cut.
Yeah.
And it's like in most cases, the venue takes the vast majority of the ticket.
Correct.
Right. They take all of the alcohol sales, which is probably the most money made that night.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and then to turn around and take merch sales, which is traditionally where the band or artist makes most of their money. Generally speaking, they don't make most of their money off of tickets.
Correct.
They make most of their money off of merch.
Yep.
I mean, think about it. If I got 30 people coming to my show and it's a $10 ticket, that's $300. If all 30 of those people, that's $300 that needs to be shared with the sound person, the door person, and possibly the bartender, by the way. So we're talking about making maybe $50, $100 off the door as a band. But then all 30 of those people buy one t-shirt that is $20. There you go.
Yeah.
And if they buy a t-shirt and a record or two records or two t-shirts or whatever, you see very quickly that the majority of what an artist makes is off of merch. And these selfish, stingy, crappy entities go, oh, that's where they make the most money. We want a cut of it too. I'm currently watching Sopranos all the way through for the first time. And that's what it reminds me of the music industry.
Yeah, it is.
You know?
It's a racket.
It's a racket. I mean, it's full of grifters and shitty people who are at the top taking advantage of people pouring their soul out on the stage every night.
So being a musician and then also being on the business side, I want to know if your answer changes at all because of this, or because of, your unique situation. But like when I say like music is kind of this balance between commodity and art, what does that mean to you?
I mean, I agree. Excuse me, I got a cough real quick. Clear my throat. Sorry, I'm a smoker who's trying to quit, so it's affecting my voice. No, I mean, we got to live with that reality. I mean, 20-year-old me, I say this pretty often these days. 20-year-old me would punch current me in the face. When I say things to my band, like, hey, how we look on stage matters. Like 20-year-old me would literally kick myself in the nuts by saying things like that. But it is a commodity. It is. And we do have to be conscious of that. I think it becomes a problem when we let the commodification affect the product. And I hate even calling it a product. And here I am putting my music business hat on, but music is best when it's not affected by the commodification of it. But I mean, we got to eat, we can't work at Trader Joe's our whole lives and take 2 months off a year to tour, like that's not a way to live, we can't, sleep on the floor and have 5 roommates until we're 50 years old. So we have to commodify it. But there's a way to do it in a, what's the word I'm looking for? A noble way. And there's a way to do it in a terrible way. And you can be someone who helps artists who generally are terrible at commodify their music and do it in a way that is legit and noble and good. And we need more people like that. There are people out there like that. I mean, again, working for Merge Records, I saw how it was done correctly. My band was on a label called Ernest Jennings, run by my friends Gondar and Pete, great human beings. My band is now on Bar None, run by Emmy Black, insanely awesome human being. Piaptic, people in position to know, run by Mike Dixon, one of my closest friends, sacrifices himself, makes himself poor so that his artists aren't. There are people who do that, who truly love music. And we have to spotlight those people and push them in the spotlight more so that this makes more sense. How we do it, I don't know. I mean, people have to be willing to go and pay the cover charge, even if it's your friend. Anytime I play, how many texts I get of people I haven't heard from in 2 years. Hey, can I get on the guest list? Don't fucking do that to your friends when they're playing. Pay the $10. You know what I mean? We have to shift the mentality in the US, how we think about art and music, and understand that, if you're going and paying $20 to go see a movie, why are you unwilling to pay $5 to $10 to go see a band and take a chance on a band? Taking a chance on a movie, you don't know whether it's good or not. And then you spend another $40 on popcorn and sodas. You're willing to do that. Why aren't you willing to pay $10 to go see a band at the club? Why is it seen as odd when you see an old guy like me at a punk show? Don't make that old guy feel weird. Welcome him. Why is it odd when you see a 16-year-old at a Radiohead show? Don't gatekeep Radiohead. Make sure that all these kids come in and enjoy those bands. A big part of my industry is gatekeeping. I mean, the audiophile thing, it's like a bad word to me. I would be considered an audiophile too, but the gatekeeping aspect is pervasive throughout the entire music industry. So those are the things we can do ourselves to make commodification not such a bad word. We can do it in a way that is not evil, not taking advantage of people is fair. And I do think there was at one time, most working musicians were in unions, and they're not anymore. You barely hear about it. Let's start that back up. I mean, Jenny Toomey from Tsunami, I forget the name of her union, and I should know this because, again, I tried to unionize my plant, which is part of why I was fired. I think it's the Coalition of Independent Musicians, something like that. CIM, Coalition of Independent Musicians. I believe that's what it is. Okay. Jenny Toomey, that's a union. I should know that, and you should know that. Not you, but like the audience. Go out and join these unions, band together. No matter how you feel about a union, there is you can make an argument against some unions for certain industries, but music absolutely needs it. Absolutely needs it. We get so taken advantage of by everyone around us, including our friends who are promoters of clubs. It's crazy. And it's so accepted that, as a band, you go up to the door and you're like, hey, we'd like to get paid. They're like, oh, yeah, sorry, we don't have any money for you. And you're like, oh, hi, I get it. No, man. I drove 12 hours to be here. At least give us $20 a person. Come on. That should be accepted. It should be the norm. The norm shouldn't be the joke you see on Hard Times, where you travel 12 hours to play for the bartender and door person and you make $0. Yeah, it's funny, sort of, but it's funny. Not funny. Haha. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not funny at all, but
yeah,
it is what it is, man. So
yeah, we have to demand it, man. We have to do it. We have to we have to go out there and band together and demand that we get treated with respect.
So how do you feel, or I'm sure you've already looked into this, or as a company with Conectiv, how is AI going to change the vinyl industry?
I am like everyone where I just saw a panel. I was up in New York this past week for a conference and for two conferences. And there was a panel about AI. And there was a guy talking about, I forget what band it was, some punk band who hasn't been together for a while, inputting all their music as a band, into AI to create new songs. And everybody was like, what the hell are you talking about? No, that's terrible, which I agree with. That's terrible. But on the same panel, there was someone who was actually my coworker, Charles, talking about how AI is being used right now to tracks that you don't have the original stems for, breaking apart that track into stems so that you can then remix it or add new things to it. For example, there was a song, this happens with a lot of bands, again, sorry for my voice, where, you may have recorded a song that you never finished 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and you no longer have the original tape for it or the DAT or whatever, or the files, but you have it on CD, but it was never finished. You never finished the song. Well, you're screwed. You just have to do that song again. Well, now, this is where I think AI can be used in a positive way. With this AI tool, you can break it apart. Now you can remaster it, remix it, all those things. That's where I think AI can be a powerful tool to be used in that way. But I also think it needs to be used very sparingly. This idea of AI written music and movies and art, I don't know, man. Yeah. It's pretty, like, slippery. There's the joke. It's pretty terrible. There's a joke. I wanted AI to take over my job and to where, wash the dishes and wash my car, and so that I had more time to make art. Instead, now I'm having to wash the dishes and wash cars to make money while AI is making the art. Like, that's the exact opposite, like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, and lots of people are doing it. I know of artists who have not announced it and refused to announce it that have used AI to write their songs. They absolutely have. It's popular artists, not anybody that I've worked with at Conectiv. I'm not going to say that, but people in the mid-level who have done it, and they have no qualms with that. And okay, but we're also, we're feeding ourselves into the wood chipper. It's like we're not even being fed to the wood chipper by someone else. We're feeding ourselves into it. Yeah. I think when it comes to using AI to write music and make art and things like that.
And it'll start off consciously, and then it'll end up being subconsciously, and that's
exactly
trouble.
I mean, again, I'm not in general, I'm not a person who is
a curmudgeon.
Right. Like, I'm not going to look at I'm not going to be a troglodyte, and I can see the benefits of AI. There are good things about it. Mm-hmm. And it can be used as a tool in some cases for good. Mm-hmm. It's not wholly evil, but just like anything, you can use a car to get from point A to point B and go to and from work. You can also use a car to mow down a bunch of people in the street,
That's a good analogy. I like that. But getting back to your point about, not being a gatekeeper for like bands that you like, case in point. So I'm also a trivia host. And so one of my venues last month, some of the kids in the kitchen were like, How to Disappear Completely was on the radio. And I was like,
yeah.
So like, I got to figure out, I was like, who's got the Radiohead on? And they're like, dude, we love Radiohead. And I was like, okay. So then, we had this conversation, and they were like, I'm telling them about the bootlegs I've got, and, like, I've seen them 14.
We're winning the culture war again. Like, the joke about, the joke I make about Radiohead is, I'm 47 years old. I'm a white dude. Of course I like Radiohead, because, we get made fun of for Radiohead gets made fun of for that. But like, my kid is 20, my biological kid is 22. My step kid is 13. They both love Radiohead, and neither one of them are straight white dudes. So we're winning. Radiohead's winning them back.
So they announced their European tour.
I know.
So my buddy, who lives down in Ocean City, Maryland, he was like, "Hey man, like let's go." And I was like, dude, I can't. So he got tickets to one of the Copenhagen shows. So he's flying to Copenhagen, 4 nights doing one of the shows. I'm like, God damn it. So jealous.
I've heard them. I think this is public knowledge.
What?
I hope I'm not. It's my problem is there's things I have to think about.
Okay.
I've heard MBV, My Bloody Valentine, is playing some shows coming up. That's public knowledge, right?
I did not know that, but that could be.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
they're playing some shows coming up, and one of them is in Glasgow, and I'm heavily considering buying tickets to fly over to Glasgow to go see My Bloody Valentine.
I hear
I would probably
Glasgow
do
is
that for Radiohead
amazing.
too, but I've seen Radiohead so many times. Like at this point, I'm not sure it's worth the flight.
Yeah. What is cool about this tour though is if unless they, which they've been known to do, like surprise drop a new album, this tour is going to be completely off nothing. Like this will just be a greatest hits tour. So it could be a really good set list.
I would, how do I phrase this? Don't be surprised by a new album.
Yeah. Well,
I would not be surprised.
I'm hoping
I
for
would not be
American fun.
surprised.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would not be surprised if there's a new album coming out. I would say keep your eyes peeled.
Okay.
I've heard some rumblings.
Well, I mean, it's been a long time. It's been what 2016, I think, was a Moon-Shaped Pool. So that's
Yeah, and I liked it. It's probably my least favorite Radiohead album, including Pablo Honey,
okay.
which was always my least favorite, up to Moonshaped Pool. I still like it. King of Limbs is so at the bottom is Moonshaped Pool, Pablo Honey, and then King of Limbs. But at the same time, Radiohead can do no wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a In Rainbows guy is my favorite album by them.
It
Um,
doesn't get much better than Weird Fishes Are Peggy.
oh
Alive
my,
too. Oh my God.
oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, being in studio again with my band, the Cadets, that I've been in since I was 15. Whenever we're with our producer, and he's like, "Should this? Are y'all? Is I'm feeling like I can move this either into more like rocky indie rock or Radiohead," and we're like, "Always Radiohead. Always moving in the direction of Radiohead." If the question is this or Radiohead, it's always Radiohead. Always go in that direction.
You're gonna win.
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to hear what has been your favorite concert of the year that you've been to, that you've seen?
Granddaddy,
Hell yeah.
easily. I just saw them up in New York. It's first time seeing them, and I'm a longtime fan, first time caller with them. I was blown away. I mean, saw them at Brooklyn Steel. I was with some friends, the guys from Stuff You Should Know podcast. Our friend Joey Ciara, who made that TV show The Resort with his brother Andy.
Okay.
My workmate Charles and the guy who owned the label that my old band was on, Ernest Jennings. We were all standing there watching this show, just kind of looking at each other. It's like, holy shit. Like the sound was perfect. They played perfect. They played all of Software Slump and then pretty much all of Someday, the album. And then everything else you wanted to hear. I mean, it was great. It's probably up there with me for shows in general.
Okay.
But definitely number one this year. Hands down, Granddaddy.
I know the first time that I heard of them, they were on either movie soundtrack or something. What am
28 Days Later.
That's it. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
The scene in the grocery store. And the
Yeah.
weird thing is we were talking about this in line, and Conectiv just pressed the lead singer Jason Lytle's longtime solo project. We were sitting there talking about that, and then one of the guys is like, "Yeah, I heard about him from 28 Days Later." I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah." He's like, "Did they? I think they slowed down the song in the movie." And I was like, "Yeah, I think they did." Going back, I need to go back and look.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's one of the times that's in a movie that's a bizarre thing where I think they actually manipulated the song and slowed it down.
Okay.
But it's got that keyboard line, the bum 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 bum. For most people who heard of Granddaddy, yeah.
Yeah, they were also on I don't know if you remember from, again, early 2000s. I think it was called just Q Magazine. They were based in like England.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
would do these like mixed CDs. And so they
Yeah.
were on them. This band, Super Furry Animals. You remember them?
Oh, yes, I love Super Furry Animals.
Star
Rings Around the
Sailor.
World is a great album.
Yeah, Star Sailor was on that album. Travis was on that album. Like like 2000s Britpop, just so good. Like, the Verve, I don't
Yeah.
think the Verve is on it, but I like Richard Ashcroft's solar stuff better than the Verve.
Uh, so for yeah, I like them both. I mean, I when I was in high school, I went to an arts high school,
Hmm.
and so like there were no sports. We didn't have a sports team. Um, but the cool girls in school all loved the Verve. So it was one of those things where it was like they always had this weird on a pedestal type thing for me, the
Sure.
Verve. But I love them. But I think I agree with you. I think the Richard Ashcroft stuff is better.
The,
Um,
a band that just drives me nuts is Coldplay because I love Coldplay, but I have not liked anything since 2007. Can they please just play guitar? Like, what is wrong with the guitar? Like, he is a great guitarist, and like, it's just noise and blips and sounds, and like, what are we doing, guys?
I actually really like the first album, but that's about it
It's
for me.
fantastic. Oh my God, it's
Yeah, the first
fantastic.
album is great. I
A
mean,
Rush of Blood
that
to the
band
Head
gets a
is
lot of
fantastic. X and Y
that
is
band gets a lot of shit, and I am constantly a defender of bands that get a lot of shit.
yeah.
Because to me, it's like if you like it, you like it. Doesn't matter how cool or uncool they are. But that's what Coldplay is like. They get a lot of shit, but that first album is great.
Yeah.
Just like Foo Fighters, the color and the shape, perfect album.
Yeah.
And some people would be shocked to hear me say that the album is freaking perfect.
Mhm.
After that album, pretty hit or miss. There's still some good songs, but
Mhm.
same with Coldplay, man. That first album is great. I'm also a massive Jimmy Buffett defender.
Yeah, R.I.P. He was. I mean, there'll never be anyone like him. Like, I think
No,
it's a true statement.
anybody who makes fun of Jimmy Buffett, go listen to his first couple of albums.
Yeah.
I mean,
He was a
Come Monday,
songwriter. Yeah, he was
yeah,
a
dude, Come
songwriter.
Monday is an amazing song. I don't care how much you hate Jimmy Buffett. I would have a hard time believing someone who loves music and loves singer songwriters can't hear Come Monday and appreciate that song. It's a great song.
So, have you seen then Jimmy more than Radiohead?
No, I never got to see Jimmy Buffett.
Ah, okay, all right.
No, I never got to see him. I was a late bloomer for the Jimmy Buffett. As a matter of fact, I think Mike Dixon and I think Mike Dixon was the one who really opened my eyes to Jimmy Buffett.
Okay. So,
If anybody wants to see some cool vinyl stuff, go to People in a Position to Know. I think it's piaptk.com.
okay,
He does some cool stuff. Like he does records with concentric circles and stuff. It's crazy.
okay. Shout out.
Yeah.
So, I got to know about your circus grandma. This is a fascinating story. I want to hear about this, like, because yeah, the audience is going to be interested in this one.
So there are people in this world who I don't know why, but strange things happen to them or they have strange stories. And there are people out there who tell things and say things, and half of what they say sounds like bullshit. And you find out that it's not. I have always hesitated telling a lot of my stories because a lot of them sound like lies. They sound like bullshit. And so the reason you're asking is because finally I was able to find and publish a picture of my grandmother in the circus, or what we believe is my grandmother in the circus. My family believes that that's actually a picture of her. So my grandmother, she grew up in an Orthodox Jewish family. Um, the story I'd always been told growing up was that she met my grandfather when the circus came through town and she ran off with him. And I have an uncle, my uncle Jay, who was raised by his grandparents, didn't know they were his grandparents till he was 21, thought they were his real parents, thought he had a sister who was dead, found out, his sister wasn't dead and that was his mother. I had been told that my great grandparents took my uncle Jay because they saw that my grandmother was running off of the circus had my Uncle Jay out of wedlock with my grandfather, and they took him to raise him Orthodox Jew because my grandfather was Christian Cherokee. So that's the story I'd always heard. That story is not true. Unfortunately, my grandmother was assaulted by her brother-in-law, and that child was my Uncle Jay was from that situation, and my great grandparents sided with the brother-in-law. But my grandmother, it is true that she was in the circus, and my grandfather was the electrician in the circus. My grandmother rode the motorcycle, and in the picture, sometimes a car, in the ball of death or wheel of death, or had several bowl of deaths, have had several different names, and many times with either a tiger or, as in the picture, with a lion, either on her back or in the car with her. So that's what my grandmother did. Straight out of a Neutral Milk Hotel song.
Unbelievable. Nice shout out to Neutral Milk Hotel. Don't hear that too often.
Yeah. I mean, her name was Bertha Barr. I found out her stage name, which was used by many women who did the same thing. I'd have to look it up again. So if you try to look up Bertha Barr, that was the problem, is we were always trying to look up Bertha Barr to try to find pictures of her. And it took until recently to realize she had a stage name that she never told us about. And not only did she have that stage name, but several women had that stage name who did the same thing.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is that on your mom's side then, or your dad's side?
My dad.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So you got a little.
Because if it was my mom, then technically I would be Jewish as well, because technically my dad is Jewish since his mother was. But yeah. He wasn't practicing. I grew up Mormon, though I left the church very young because I was like, this is all bullshit.
This John Smith guy's an asshole.
Joseph Smith, but yes.
Joseph
Smith. John Smith was Pocahontas.
That's right. Right history, wrong time frame, right?
Yeah.
So, Cash, last question for you then. So, it is almost the end of October. What do you feel like is your biggest and proudest accomplishment for this year, either professionally or personally?
I think I brought up my old plan a couple of times, and obviously it's still an open wound by how I talk about it. But getting to a point where I can get past it, honestly, has been my biggest accomplishment. It was extremely traumatic. I lost all my friends over it. I lost my entire community over it. It destroyed several lives, the people who run it now. And I can talk about it in a way that is still upset, but moving past it, honestly, I don't think in our society as older men, we talk about mental health enough. Having survived what I dealt with through that and this year is really the getting to a point where I can truly say I've survived it. I've made it through. Honestly, I don't think people talk about this enough. Several suicide attempts and pretty dark time for the last couple of years since I lost my company. And making it past that is my proudest accomplishment this year. I mean, obviously working for Conectiv has been very, very great. I'm still new. I started in March, but I think it's very important that we start to be able to demystify mental health, especially in older men, demystify the troubles we go through, and be able to use that as an accomplishment, something to be proud of, to get past that, to take care of my mental health, get to a point where I'm not under threat of not being in this world anymore. I think is my biggest accomplishment this year. Not to get too dark on you on a podcast that's mostly about music, but to be honest, we would not have music without mental health issues. So there we go.
And all our best songs are from the worst anguish, right?
I mean, that's what I always say is whenever you're a happy person, you don't look around and ask why.
Yeah.
When you are someone who has some issues and you're sad and you have some mental health issues, you look around and you ask why, and when you ask why, that produces art, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the basis of not all art, but most art, I believe.
Yeah. So my last question for you, as a musician, as someone who lives and breathes this industry, how is the best, or where and how is the best way that you like to listen to music?
I'm still someone who walks into a record store and buys records based off of album covers. I'm old enough that that's how we did it. And that was how I got into the first time I really got into a band when I was 12 years old. I bought a Dinosaur Jr. album based off the album cover, and it changed my life. Still do it that way. I'm going to. I wish there was a better way, and I'm always looking for better ways. But I'm going to use Satan and Digital Incarnate, Spotify. Honestly, when I'm in the car, I will turn on a band that I like's radio, and I do hear about a bunch of new music that way. But I will say, if you're going to do it that way, please go out and buy the albums, which I do. Friends, opening bands for other bands. But also, I have a 22-year-old kid. I hear about a lot of music that way.
Yeah.
So have a kid. That's a good way if you want to learn about music. Have a kid and force feed them your music growing up, and then when they start to like their own music, you can regurgitate music back to you. There's a meme with this guy in the car with his kid, and they're driving somewhere. There's several of them, and the music comes on, and he's like shaking the kid and like throwing the food up and like shaking the kid back and forth. That was me and my kid whenever.
Yeah.
So I raised them on my own. So that was us in the car, like listening to Arches Aloe for Superchunk or Radiohead or Slint or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, not that violently, but it's like,
Right.
listen to this. This is the greatest song ever. And
Get off your
they're
phone.
like, Dad, you say that about every song. Every song is your favorite song. Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, Cash, thank you so much for doing this. It was a pleasure to meet you at Americanafest in person. It's a pleasure to do this with you over the interweb.
Yeah, should have warned you how much of a talker I
Oh,
am.
good, man. I love it. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us. That helps the bands, artists, and music professionals like Mr. Carter over here. Check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR, outfitters.com. Don't just wear, RAR. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Dogg. You've been great. This is the Music Lab Podcast.